Hey, Steph, Masvita here. Just off the field, what's the commute like? And just, how does that get you kind of the work and life balance?
You mean what's my personal commute from Bainbridge Island now these days?
Yeah, yeah. And how is that balance? How does that help your work-life balance if it
Oh,
does?
it's been great. It's been really good because I feel like every morning now, have to wake up maybe a tiny bit earlier, but go get on the ferry and kind of get back over to civilization and go to work, put in a couple of hours of solid work, get your rehab done, do everything over there, and then try to catch the earliest ferry possible to get back to my sanctuary and just kind of unwind. So it's been amazing. My family here, we love it here on Bainbridge Island. It's been a really good balance. We have good space here, but it's just to be out in nature. I grew up in Switzerland, and I think I didn't really cherish the nature as much as I should have when I was a little kid. When my parents dragged me out into hikes, and I was like, "Come on, I want to go home." As I'm getting older, I'm starting to really appreciate it and how good it is to the soul. So it's been amazing. Just a little example today on the ferry driving home. I saw an orca out in the wild, and it's just, I mean, it's crazy. It's a beautiful Pacific Northwest, and I feel blessed that we are able to live here.
And then just speaking in terms of getting old, not that you are, but goalkeepers take a lot of pounding. I'm wondering, have you done, what have you implemented in your workout routine to be able to go to 200 games, just to stay fit and injury free for the most part?
You do what you can, but there's things, that just you can't control. I've been very fortunate in my career as a whole. I think I've had one serious injury. It put things in perspective, but I was able to get through that. And since then, thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't had, anything too serious. There will always be little injuries, and when people say, when will you be 100%, trust me, no athlete is ever 100%. It just doesn't happen. But throughout the last couple of years, the single injuries that I've had were, a small tear in a hamstring that I bounced back from, I think within a week. Other than that, I think I've had 2 concussions or so. So those are really not things I can kind of control. They're just things that happen, if I look at my whole career, especially last year, I didn't miss a single minute. So as I'm getting older and I think I have more experience, I also have to say Tommy's done an amazing job in recognizing that, there's certain things that maybe you don't have to go and do as often or as crazy as you did when you were, 20 years old. When you're 34, maybe you pick your spots a little bit differently, but I feel amazing. I feel great. And I think I would say it's just, the testament to the hard work we do as a group. Throughout your career, if you can instill that is required on a daily basis, you're going to keep doing that at 34. It's not that, you need to work, right? You can't just shut it down and be like, I can't move, and expect to still be able to be prepared for games. So it's been just like that every day. I try to watch what I eat sometimes. I still love my chocolate once in a while. But, be smart, with supplements as well. Now when we are getting into the winter months, take your vitamin D, take your vitamin C, do all those little things and hopefully keep this career going for as long as I can. I feel great and I want to keep playing.
Thanks.
Hey, Steph. Just probably a very basic question here, but I did want to know what's going to be 250 games. What's your one moment, the most memorable, the biggest game moment that you always think about in your extended career?
It's winning trophies. This is a team sport, and the magical moments are the ones that you achieve things that you cannot achieve by yourself. It's really nice to be able to get a lot of games under your belt and maybe have a lot of shutouts, a lot of wins. Those are all things that will be great when it's said and done and you're leaving your own legacy behind. But I think the thing that matters most is winning trophies. And so for that matter, I mean, I feel like I'm so fortunate to have been part of 2016 because it was the first one for the franchise. That is a historic moment. That is not just a trophy, but that is a historic moment that will never, ever change. And so to be able to be part of that is very, very special and dear to me. And then obviously to win it at home in 19 was huge. I'm really happy I've been able to win Supporter Shield, which is a very difficult trophy to win. I'll say the Open Cup in 14. Those are all the moments that I look at. It's winning trophies. It's making all the sweat and tears and the hard work that you put in as a squad, rewarding yourself and putting another trophy in the cabinet. That's what matters.
Steph, can I ask how you and your teammates reacted to Raul's positive test, COVID test?
How did we react in the locker room? I mean, obviously, I think we know that he's going to be in good hands. I know that the national team and then obviously also the Sounders, whatever we can do, he's going to be taken care of to the best of our ability. So I don't know. We haven't had too much contact as players with him. Probably more a question to give to Nico Ladero or someone like that. It's to be honest, I think it's almost a little bit of a surprise that it took this long because you've seen the spikes. We went to Orlando when it was crazy in Florida. We were able to kind of get through that. I think we've all taken the best precautions we can for the most part. Everybody gets tired of everything and slips up once in a while, but I think we've done a pretty good job collectively to treat this pandemic with the utmost respect, and therefore I think we've been able to stay clean for as long as we have. But the inevitable, I feel like it wasn't inevitable. At some point it was going to happen. So it's just like I think Schmidt said, it's a reminder that this can happen to anybody. I'm still very concerned with the unknowns of this pandemic. I mentioned this to friends yesterday that we go through rigorous testing before the season happens to make sure that we are allowed to play. And we saw, for example, heart conditions, all those things. We've seen numerous good players that have had to put the brakes on to make sure that they're clear to play. And so there's some unknowns. Surviving this pandemic is one thing, but doing it without having to completely alter your life is also another thing. So there's some unknowns still, and that's why for me personally, and I think most of the team, we'll do everything we can to make sure that we don't get it, and we get through this as safely as we can. Like I said, just on him, I think he'll be fine. He's in good hands, and we'll make sure everything we do is to provide him with whatever he needs to get through this.
Speaking of that unknown and how things are going to work, a couple of months from today or a couple of weeks from today when it comes to this pandemic, there's a lot of people who believe that the best way to handle the playoffs is going back to a bubble scenario. What are your thoughts on that? And just in opinion, what would you like to see, or what do you think would be best?
Boy, I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. I'll tell you that. With that even said, I'm sure whatever we come up with, there will be complaints regardless, even from me. So I'll give you that to start out that answer. But it's difficult, right? Because I think you have to look at it two ways. One is to try to make it a safe environment for the players, for everybody that's involved, however it's going to happen. You also have to try to make it as fair as possible. And I don't even know if we've probably already crossed that line. Is it really a fair season? You've had teams that have had to play, difficult opponents numerous times, soft opponents. Others have had fans at home, have been able to stay at home for the most part. You look at Colorado now, how are they going to make up their games? It's going to be impossible. So what, do you go to points per game? Well, in that case, we should have, when we were 2.0 points per game, we should have gotten a COVID-19 positive test and sailed to the playoffs with a 2.0, right? I don't have the answer, and like I said, I'm happy that I don't have to have the answer for it. But I still hope that they keep all those things in mind. We try to make it as fair as possible for the teams to truly be able to. Give these coveted trophies out with some meaning behind it. I know how difficult it is to win Supporter Shield. I know how difficult it is to win MLS Cup. You don't want to have a huge asterisk on those, right? I think there may be an asterisk on it already, but you definitely want to do everything you can to make it as fair and as safe for everybody involved. Whatever happens, we'll see, and we'll have to deal with it.
Steph, you've kind of gotten to see Christian's growth as a player pretty much from the beginning as a pro. And it seems like he just kind of continues to add different elements to his game every year. What have you seen from him this season? Have you seen anything new or anything that stands out as he continues to kind of grow and develop as a player here?
Oh, he's been phenomenal, and I think his growth has been tremendous. And the biggest thing for me is his growth in multiple positions. He's reminding me a lot of good old Brad Evans days, where, Brad Evans would be in the midfield, then he'd be a winger, then he'd be a right back, then we'd need him at center back. He could do it all, and he could do it all well. So I think Christian kind of reminds me of that. He's able to slot in a lot of places. He gives us a lot of flexibility. Not just when we are maybe a player down, but when we want to make a tactical change to force something, whether we're behind or whatnot. So it's been really good because for me, especially when we slide players into the back, consistency and being reliable is very, very important. And I have no quarrels whenever I see him having to slide back or slide somewhere else on the pitch. I feel like he's very, very consistent on both ends of the pitch, and that's what you want to see, right? He has quite a tank in him as well, so he's able to make those runs for 90 minutes and give us something offensively, even when he slides to defense on right back or wherever. So it's been great. I want to keep seeing him progress. Stay hungry throughout your career. He's considered a veteran now, and really still a pretty young guy if you think about it. So he's got to keep that hunger. I know he will, and keep growing and keep getting better. It's going to be difficult for us Sounders to keep him here because he's a heck of a player, and I know a lot of teams would love to have him.
And kind of related, but there's been a lot of guys from the U.S. national team breaking out in Europe at different positions around the field. How do you think that could impact or motivate somebody like Christian, seeing guys in a similar position fighting for his spots that are now playing for some of the biggest teams in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? When you're seeing young guys that you just laced your boots up with in a January camp, you're seeing them strap up the boots next to Messi and Ronaldo on the telly, right? I mean, it's awesome. It's good for the game in the U.S. How does that really translate for someone like him? What does that affect him? I don't know. You have to have your own aspirations, your own goals as a player. What do you want to achieve? I don't know if he ever wanted to go to Europe, if that is, I mean, it's a dream of most players, but there's also a dream of cementing yourself within an organization in a club. I'm so fond of, you see it very rarely these days, but the players that were able to get their testimonials with Bayern Munich, with Manchester United, because they stayed there for so long, that's far and few in between these days. So maybe that is one of his goals. Maybe that is an aspiration to show that loyalty as well. I don't really know, but either way, I think to see some of your peers do really well, it's motivation for sure. Because when you go back into camp with the national team, those are the measuring sticks. So if you can walk all over the guy that's playing with Ronaldo with his club, then that's good for your ego. That feels great. We're all competitive. That's why we're in this business. And going out on the training pitch, and like Schmidt said before, everything you do, you want to win. And so when you can compete against those and you see those guys do well and you do well against them, it's great. That's what you want to see. And that's, I think, what's going to help the sport grow in this country.
Stefan, everybody is in a way living a hardship during this pandemic, and the team is not an exception. How do you think that having this having to play twice a week and not enough time to recover, not enough time to practice on specific things. How do you think this affects the quality of the game, during this pandemic?
Well, I think we saw that the quality in Orlando was maybe not as good. It made for some interesting games. Maybe as players, not the kind of interesting you want to look for, but maybe as a spectator, exactly what you're looking for. But I think the quality has improved as teams have settled in and were able to go back to their markets, play in more comfortable surroundings. I think the quality has improved. I think the biggest thing is still playing in an empty stadium is the weird thing. We miss our fans. They get us juiced up before games. They help us when we're struggling. They give us an extra boost. So that's the biggest thing for us. Just to give you a perspective, this we would have had a midweek game against Colorado that got canceled. So in reality, we've had now a Sunday to a Sunday, which you would consider a regular week in a regular season. And I caught multiple players numerous times this week saying, wow, this week feels so long. It's such a long week, but in reality, it's just a normal week if you had a normal season. So yeah, you adjust, you get through it. We adjust the trainings, obviously. And when you do have an opportunity like we had this week to work on specific things and push it a little bit further, you will. One thing I will, the seed I want to plant with this great question too, though, is one thing that has helped us is to be able to have the chartered flights. I'm not going to lie, when you're able to go and sleep in your own bed the day before an away game, fly out early in the morning, still get a nap in at the hotel, then go to the game, then fly straight back. It helps you recover tremendously because you can stay at home, you can sleep in your own bed. Like I said, you stay with your family right away after the game. You're back home within a few hours. It makes a huge, huge change. And especially if we would have normal schedules, Sunday to Sunday, you're looking at now a Sunday game, flying back, getting back around midnight. You can do a recovery session on Monday, get a day off on Tuesday, and then still have a full 4 days to prep before a game. So I really hope that even when the pandemic is over, that we can see the value that this change has now posed in going to chartered flights, and we can continue with it.
Steph, you're not a goalkeeper who leads by yelling your head off all the time. But for a long time, you had a lot of veteran leaders and organizers in front of you. Have you had to change or evolve your role as guys like Brad and Ozzy and Chad have moved on?
I do my fair share of yelling, but I do it on a training pitch, when people can hear me. And for the most part also what's the point of yelling when the ball's already in the back of the net, right? I always found it interesting. It's more of a blaming someone and throwing a hissy fit. It's not going to change the fact that the ball ended up in the back of the net. So, when in a game there is a sense of urgency I need to convey, I will do that. But I'm trying to be a problem solver in the game more than anything. Sometimes in practices, you have to have a little bit of a light a fire under someone's butt to realize that, hey, this has happened 3-4 times now. It can't happen again because we're running into a trend that, if we can't correct it for the weekend, we're gonna have issues. So I've always tried to lead by example and work my butt off, during the week and on weekends, and hopefully that rubs off on people. And then, with that kind of mentality and leadership on the field, maybe if I do say a few sentences here and there, that people will listen and will take it on board. So we've been lucky on the squad of having good veterans that people respect and can look up to. And I just try to do my part in continuing that.
Steph, today I believe is the first day that Washingtonians can cast their ballots.
Correct.
What has been, you've been pretty outspoken in your promotion of voting, and you've been outspoken with some political beliefs over the years. Was that something that you evolved into, or was that something that you you came to Seattle kind of already with a lot of those beliefs, but maybe just not quite as outspoken with them. I guess the question is like, how has your political mindset, your attitude towards politics evolved over the years?
Well, I think getting citizenship was a big part. I felt like I was still, I had lived in North America for 15 years, half of my life. But still not, I wasn't a citizen. So I felt like I could, obviously I had opinions on things, but still I was a guest, if you will. I was a resident, but I wasn't a citizen. And so therefore I try to keep my opinions to myself a little bit more. But, once I decided I wanted to become a citizen, I wanted to share with people why I wanted to become a citizen and what I think it means to be a citizen. And therefore I became a little bit more outspoken on certain things. And I think, this country is so divided in these days. And so it's very important for me to share where I stand. I think I feel very honored. I've checked the mail a bunch of times already to see whether I get my ballot. I haven't gotten it yet, but I'm honored to take part in it this year. And I hope that authenticity comes through to people when I talk about it, because it's a privilege. And who knows, it's not a given that America has that privilege forever. There are certain things that really bother me about the way elections are happening, and voter suppression, and a bunch of other stuff, voter, discrimination, just deterring people from voting with long lines, and not, what's another one? People that have been to jail and have a criminal record and now don't have a voice. There's so many things that I think are wrong, and who knows if that's going to get worse and worse and worse, and we veer away from that democratic way of electing our people that lead us. So again, I'm very fortunate to go through it now. I wanted to share that with people and hopefully encourage them to pay attention to what's going on, and make sure that they realize that this is a privilege, and they should not take it too lightly.
Thanks a lot for that.
Steph, just curious about the messaging for the game on Sunday. Obviously, you're playing a team that you guys beat very handily, and they had a pretty terrible run result, but now they've come back around with 4 wins out of 5, obviously looking for revenge. So curious what the coaching staff has told you guys, and what do you see that's led to San Jose's turnaround, if anything?
To answer your second question first, I think they struggled with Eriksson leaving at first, and trying to figure out how to solve that. He was a good player, and left a bit of a void there. And then obviously getting spanked a couple of times, it's never a good feeling, and it's a dark hole to climb out of. But 2016 for us, right? We were in dark places, and if you are able to climb out of those holes, that's powerful. And I feel like they're climbing out of that hole right now for themselves. And so I think our experience of climbing out of holes, it allows us to realize how dangerous of an opponent they are. I think they have lots of confidence right now. I think Almeida has always been a team coach, a coach that players want to play for, want to die for. And as much as at times it hasn't worked out, I always sense that they were there with him. So it's going to be a dangerous opponent. I think we know what they can bring. They have a good influx of young guys that came in. I think, looking at the goalkeeping position alone, JT has done quite well in a few games that he's gotten. He's a good goalkeeper. I've always rated him, and he's had good games. So young, experienced at the same time with some players. So a dangerous opponent. We know what they can bring, but we cannot be afraid to again go back to the tactical approaches that we've had in past games against them, because I think they will play similarly to the way they've always played under Almeida. So I think we know what they'll bring, but we're certainly not going to underestimate them.
All right, folks, probably have time for one more, and then we're going to let Steph wrap up here.
Steph, this is probably a simple one, but we were talking about your years in the league earlier. So approaching 250, though, can you kind of summarize what if that even means anything as far as the amount of games minus friendlies that you've played?
Yeah, it's huge. It's amazing. I'm so happy that I've been able to, have such a long career, for one, be able to be with limited clubs and good clubs. Again, for me, when I was describing Christian's ambitions, that I don't know what his goals are. Again, for me as a kid, I admired, the Oliver Kahns. I admired the Mehmet Scholz at Bayern. I admired those players that stayed at clubs for so long. Obviously, it's difficult. It's a business. So sometimes it's not your choice as a player, but I always wanted to kind of follow that path. And, I enjoyed my time in Toronto. It was a good club. It was a good city. The people were awesome, but it was time for a change. And I was so fortunate that I was able to, get to Seattle, have people around me that believed in me, still believe in me. A beautiful city, beautiful Pacific Northwest to live in for my family. So it's been nothing but a blessing. But I'm also very proud of the fact that I've been able to play a lot of games. The older I've gotten, the more games I've played during the year. Like I said, last year I didn't miss a single minute. It kind of irked me towards the end of my Toronto career when I saw articles saying that I was injury prone. I wasn't really injury prone. I had one huge injury, and there was nothing I could have done about that one. So I really I took that to heart, and I felt a little bit attacked because I feel like I work my butt off. I do take care of myself off the pitch, and I take pride in the fact that I'm able to play consistently. So I want to keep that going. Tommy and I always talk about what legends like Buffon were willing to do to prolong their careers. And I'm going to do the same thing. I want to keep playing for another 10 years. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm not going to surrender that number one spot to a young guy easily. I'm going to push him until someone takes it from me. And then I will do everything I can to support that guy as much as I can. But again, that's that competitive nature I have in me too. And it's allowed me to stay and play with Toronto at first, and now with Seattle for a long, long time. And like I said, I hope it continues for another few years.